A VO2 max interval that you have to try, watts per kg versus watts per CDA, and being 100% for every crit. Is that even possible? 3 tips this week. Let's dive right into this. Brendan with EVOQ Bike. Welcome if this is your first episode. VO2 Max TTE. I wrote a musing about this, and some coaches that had their athletes do that, and a couple other athletes messaged me and said, this is an absolute banger. And now I see what you mean about the high quality VO2 training that you get from this. This interval is going to be slightly different than your 5x5. It's definitely different than the 30-30s. It's just a way to shake it up a little bit and have this number that you are going to beat. And it is super motivating. You're going to get a ton of high quality VO2. What do I mean by high quality? If you use WKO, you can break down your intervals and they show you, hey, what's the amount of time that you got at 85% VO2 power or above? What about 95%? What about 100%? That's when you're full gas. This is going to get probably the most 100% VO2 that you've had in the past 90 days. I would almost make that bet. And when you look at time and zone, it might be a little bit less than like a 5x5, but I think you need all of those. You need the longer time and zones at 85%, and then you need these really sharp, insane hitter days. And how are you going to execute this? If you use WKO, you can look at the VO2 Max, which is in your performance tab. There's going to be a number there. You can use that value. If you don't have that, look at what your 5-minute or maybe, say like your 5-minute best is in the past 90 days, and then add 15 watts to that. For me, when I last did this, the VO2 Max was 486. It's going to be about 125% of your threshold. Like, don't overthink this at first. You can tweak these down the road. My goal then is to hold an average of 485 for as long as possible. It's probably gonna be 5, 6, 7 minutes when you get good at these. If it's longer than that, then your number is probably a little bit low, and next time you can just increase it. So to execute this, to get a ton of high quality VO2 max training, if my goal is 485, I'm gonna start around 520, meaning I'm gonna hit the gas hard in the beginning, go for 30 seconds at 520, 530, and settle in and just sort of then keep riding at VO2. If you don't know what that feeling is yet, this might be too advanced for you. If it's like confusing for you when you're out there, like, it's a really hard interval set. And as you're going to see the watts slowly decreasing, right? And once you get down to, 500, 510, it's like out of the saddle, bring the number back up a little bit. Then it comes down a little bit again. You bring it back up a bit. Then you get down to 490. Like, oh, damn, I'm getting pretty close. You start giving it everything you have. And when it hits 484, you stop. And when you recover in between these, you want to be spinning, high zone 1, low zone 2. Once you get that initial recovery going, get all those fatigue metabolites out of your system, and then, recover 10 minutes, let's say, and then do it again. If you went 6 minutes, the next one's probably going to be 4 minutes. And then I would do this until you're only able to do it for 2 minutes. You're going to accumulate a ton of high quality time, and it just shakes it up. It's not going out and doing a 5x5 and just trying to say, hey, I got to get in this range today. It's like you have something to chase now, and it's just a very motivating way to execute this. And it's another way to train to keep things fresh. In order to perform really well at these, obviously, you want to come in not rested, but not tired. If you've done a hard ride the day before, this is now the day to do it. I would sometimes do this on a Tuesday when it's my super hard day. If I had a really hard race Sunday, maybe I would push it to Wednesday and do an endurance ride on Tuesday. Make sure I have a little bit of extra carbs the night before. And if I'm not riding super early, a solid carb-rich breakfast. Lactigo on the legs and body if you use that. And come in ready for a super hard day on the bike. And so you know how to find the number. Let me know how this goes for you. It is a banger session, and you're going to get so much high quality. And again, just keeps the training fresh. There's a musing on it that I posted a while back in November last year. So you can also reference that if you need some more insights. Number 2, watts per kg. And that was great. Colby Pierce was on the podcast. And I think that episode, the second time, and I think that episode is probably going to be out by the time you see this. And he talks about how watts per kg is just, it's important when you're in the Alps, but it's so hyper focused on in the US. Even if you're doing Gila, right now, where bike racing is at, watts per CDA getting aero is most likely more important to you than watts per kg. Also, when you're looking at watts per kg, uh, charts, that is a one-off effort. That is not any indication of your performance and how you're going to do in a bike race. And if you are a crit racer, I don't even know why you are looking at watts per kg. Yes, is it nice to look at a chart and say, oh, look, I'm a cat 1 at watts per kg for 8 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look, I'm this, I'm that. Yeah, sure, I guess. But there's so much more to bike racing than just the watts, and definitely more than just watts per kg. So start thinking about your aero game as much as you're thinking about your weight game, and you will probably perform much better. Okay, now you're trying to hit a ton of crits this year, or even just races in general. This is in order to hit your true potential. It is impossible to be 100% for every bike race. And again, this might be a very obvious thing to you. This is not obvious for the newer athletes who are out there who, we're talking about tapering, and it's important for big events. And people pick out events that is maybe their local crit, that's like the big thing for them that year, and that's great that you want to taper for that. But you also need to take a step back and look at the big picture of your development as an athlete. If you are trying to be 100% for every crit, and say the race is on Saturday and you're doing openers on Friday, and then you're resting on Thursday, and you're only doing an endurance ride on Wednesday, and you've got this hard ride on Tuesday, are you getting as much volume as you possibly could? Because now you're going to do a 30, 40-minute race, and most people don't ride afterwards. They do a little warm up, they race, and that's it. So now you've got all these 1 hour days. That's not helping you in the long run. And I know that you want to win this Cat 4 race, and it's really important to you today, but your future self is screaming at you, train through some of these events, please. Still do the hard ride on Tuesday. Get your endurance ride in on Wednesday. Do your normal moderate training session on Thursday, or even make it a normal endurance day if you want to stick to, hey, I only want 2 hard days a week. That's fine. I have no problem with that. Rest on Friday. You probably don't need openers for this bike race, and go do the race. And then Sunday, go do a long ride that you normally do. Keep that normal training cycle going, and then do the taper on the really important local race that we're just talking about. If you're doing this all the time, it's holding you back for down the road. And maybe you're only in the sport for a year. Maybe you just found bike racing and you're like, hey, I want to go kick around for a year. Then maybe it changes up. But a lot of endurance athletes find this sport and they want to stick with it for a really long time. Just think long term as much as you can. You'll still have short term success. All right, I said we're going to keep these 12 minutes or less. We still got a couple of minutes, so let's hit the fourth one. This one everyone's not going to agree with, but if you don't feel like you need a rest week, there's a good chance you aren't training hard enough. With the wave of Tade's training and all this zone 2, and zone 2 is extremely important, the going hard has gone by the wayside a little bit. And this volume only mindset, I know is really holding some athletes back, because I have national champions that come to me, we start hitting it, and then they start setting PRs 3-4 months into this thing, and they're like, whoa, wait, okay, the balance of training that I had before, I won a national championship. How am I setting PRs right now? We're taking some super focused sessions and going in. And this is not only going to raise your performance on a physiological level, that's what training is, it is going to make the races seem that much easier. Not saying a race is easy, but more so, said differently, it's going to make the race seem manageable. When you're in those holy crap moments in the bike race, you know you've been in those in training. Having perspective on the gamut of intensity is so important, and I do see it being just lost in the past couple of years. Cycling is an aerobic sport. It is so important to do the endurance rides. It is so important to get the long ride in. It is so important to get volume in. But if you are not adding the intensity in, you're missing a piece of the puzzle. And I'm not saying you're not going to be a good bike racer or a good cyclist without it, but when you add it in, it is the jet fuel. It is what, boom, gives you those punches. So I just make sure you have that balance. I'm not trying to wave a red flag in your face and giving a YouTube title, you're doing your training wrong, but it's really something that you should think about. I have been in this own trap before of ride more. And sometimes you ride more, ride too much, and the intensity gets pushed because you're a little too tired for it. It's not overtraining, it's just riding too much. It's a little bit of under recovering. So, food for thought, 4 tips. Apply these to your training. Start crushing. Let's go. Let me know. What do you think of this series? Are we digging it? See ya.